And my role tonight is to very simply, before anyone suggests that they've seen a few words by Roger on the screen, that I tell you up front, that is definitely not an oxymoron, and I will be brief. Now, my interest in a four-way test speaking contest is twofold. Number one, I believe that ethics is absolutely essential, and having an opportunity to engage a discussion about ethics in the four-way test with ninth graders throughout the district will be extremely valuable. Secondly, I believe the next pandemic could very well be teen mental health. And the statistics on suicide and self-harm, anxiety, and depression among teenagers bear that out. And doing something that stimulates conversation about the insidious influence of devices and addiction to social media, which is the question posed in the speaking contest, I believe that Rotary can play a very important and essential role and do something that is significant enough to generate positive attention and respect. And I believe if we do things that are important and touch lives like this, it will be significantly easier to grow our membership. Now, I had the incredible good fortune of meeting Bob Shulgren, and I mentioned something about civility in our discourse and Rotary's role in that. And he suggested a four-way test speaking contest. And Bob has experience coordinating that in Arizona for a district in which he lived a few years ago. He has seen the light and ended his apostasy, and he's returned to Wisconsin and is a member of the Sturgeon Bay Breakfast Club. So I have exceeded the 60 seconds to which I allot myself. I thank you for giving your time to something like Rotary, and I turn the floor over to Bob.
Thanks, Roger. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. Just kind of wanted to run you through the topics for this evening, and you know, this will take as much time as it's going to take. I don't have a frame of mind, so we can go as long as you want or as short as you want, and I think it's all good. But we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the contest and give you. I mean, you read the manual. I don't know how much more we have to embellish on that. I'll talk a little bit about some of the work we did in Southern Arizona, which I think we did a lot of great stuff, and it's fun to share it here. And then you know, thinking a little bit about working with schools. I don't know if y'all have school backgrounds or not. I spent many years working in public education in Arizona, and I think if we're really smart about the outreach that we do, I think we're going to get some really good results in kind of what the local competitions look like. We'll talk a little bit about the local competitions and then kind of talk about some next steps. The next step piece that I really want you to kind of think about as we kind of talk about the contest is, what other resources do you think would be really helpful for you at the club level to really be empowered to implement this contest? So like one thing might be like a press release template. Another thing might be a template for an email to a school principal to kind of introduce the contest. But I kind of wanted to kind of think together about those kinds of things, because I think making it really easy for people to do a great job with the contest, I think, is really, really important. So are we good for this agenda tonight? Any questions, thoughts, comments, dad jokes, anything at all?
kind of wonder why you're living in northern Wisconsin at 10 below zero and leaving Arizona, but I'm sure that's a rhetorical question, Bob. We'll just let it ride.
Well, yeah. So I moved. A little bit about me. I moved to Arizona in 1985 as a very first year 8th grade teacher, and spent the next 40 years there. Back when I first became a teacher, jobs were few and far between, and you had to be mobile. And I will also say that all of the years that I was there, I always wanted to return. And this past year or so, a couple of years, I've returned to Sturgeon Bay every summer for the last 20 years. And the last couple of years, it was really hard to leave. And I thought, I got to do it. If I don't do it, when, so here I am. So that's the story. So anyway, kind of the purpose, I think Roger kind of gave you the whole idea behind, what we were thinking. And when we talked about doing the contest, I said, Roger, I say, I think there are two things that I think are really important. And number one is we got to focus on a population of students that we think will really participate, and not try to appeal to the masses and maybe get no results at all. So that was kind of the strategy for selecting 9th graders. And then the second thing is the topic for the contest had to be really, really relevant to kids. And Roger's initial suggestion out of the box was social media. And I said, well, I think, maybe as adults, we think that that's something that the kids really think about. But then I took it, I'm also sponsoring an Interact Club at a high school here, Sevastopol. And I took it to the kids, and I said, what do you think? And they were like, yeah, that's the perfect topic. So that really kind of validated Roger's thinking. So, we all have this experience with the 4-way test. We all recite it all the time. Some of us have the opportunity to walk the talk, put it into action in what we do with work, or with other groups, or even with our Rotary clubs. And, I really think that we all probably recognize the value and importance of the 4-way test. And to create an opportunity to share it with students so young, I think is a pretty extraordinary thing. So, timeline, it's pretty loose right now. We don't really have a whole bunch of structure for you. The one piece of this is that we will do the district competition via Zoom on Saturday, April 12th, beginning at 10 a.m. And it will go as long as it goes. And I'm kind of one of those guys where, like, whoever wants to come to this and participate is welcome. And we'll just kind of move through the whole thing as we can. You see the prizes there. We've suggested maybe some prizes. And I think clubs have the freedom to do whatever the clubs want. And I get that all clubs are different and all clubs are differently resourced, and whatever you want to do is fine. I think the other thing that has emerged in the last couple of weeks as we've been thinking about this is, can clubs potentially work together and host a contest and work together on it? And I think that the answer to that question is absolutely. What a wonderful idea. And I know that Amy gave me a poke today to get in touch with Wayne at Northern Door. And I think we're gonna see if we can't run a county-wide speech contest for 9th graders. So I think that will be kind of a fun approach to doing this project. Contest topic, it's really about the digital landscape and cyberbullying. And I feel like, if you have the opportunity, I mean, you'll put this stuff out, via social media, via email, put it on your website, whatever that looks like. But I think that, finding a way to dig into the topic a little bit with kids, and kind of talk about what's going on with social media, and why the four-way test is so relevant. And I think you could maybe talk about the history of the four-way test and that kind of thing as well. But I think it's a great topic. It's a big topic, and I think that it's all going to be welcome. We've also added some additional resources in the manual, the stopbullying.gov. The Wisconsin Youth Risk Behavior Survey is just a wonderful resource. And I don't know if y'all know about kind of the history of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. It's something that we did in the state of Arizona. I think it's federally funded, and it's this survey that schools can opt into that happens every 2 years, that just talks that quizzes kids on stuff that's happened in the last 30 days or 60 days. And it is probably the best source of youth opinion out there at the state level, and probably at the national level as well. But there's just a lot of really great data here, and I think kind of framing the conversation about social media and the four-way test, this could be a wonderful, wonderful context for them. So just, as I mentioned a little bit, I think that working with schools is really more about being strategic and targeted versus using a scattergun approach. And, kind of my thought is, send an email or schedule a meeting with a principal, go in, hand them the packet, introduce yourself, talk about wanting to sponsor the speech contest. And then, like we thought about doing it with ninth graders. What approach would you suggest that we take to get the participation of ninth graders and allow them to guide you, and then follow their suggestions? And it kind of feels to me like maybe they'll give you a ninth grade English class or speech class or a social studies class or something like that. And you can, specifically, target a group of students and work with them and talk about the four-way speech contest, spend some time in the classroom with the kids, and really kind of get their interest in the contest going and supporting them. I really, really like the idea, and something that we did locally in Arizona is that we partnered with our local chapter of the Toastmasters, and all of the speakers that were going to the district competition. And I think we can maybe figure out a way to do that this year for the kids going to the district competition. But we had some Toastmaster coaches for the kids, and it really, really helped their confidence, and it helped their just their whole energy around their speeches. And that was a kind of a real cool connect. And wait a minute, are we kind of maybe exposing Rotary or exposing another group of great people to what we do with Rotary through a strategy like that? Maybe. So something to think about. So we talked a little bit about this, partnering with clubs in the region, contributing to elevate local prizes. So if we have 3 clubs in the mix, sponsoring a competition countywide, maybe we can work to make the prizes a bit more attractive. I think a really important thing is reach outside of Rotary to find community leaders as judges. I know that just for my local club in Casa Grande, Arizona, we had a breakfast club. Our contest was Zoom-based, and we had the county attorney, and we had the ace reporter from the newspaper, and we had somebody from the United Way serve as our judges. it was just a really cool thing. They loved it, and the kids loved it, and it really worked very well. I think pictures and articles for the local paper, I think, is really, really important. And I think at every step of this contest, of this project, I think you have the opportunity to talk about Rotary and why this effort, this initiative is so valuable. So so I guess, to me, questions, comments, thoughts, thumbs up. How's it sound?
Bob,
Sound doable? What do you think?
can I question? So,
Sure.
yeah, I guess just by the way of introduction, I know Bob and Roger. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Sturgeon Bay News Thursday. I'm on the board. I think, in the short period of time between Roger and Bob being at a weekly meeting a week and a half ago, it's still pretty new to us. I thought there were a few more people that were planning to be here tonight. I can't explain that. If I can play it back, Bob, I think I understand the concept. Basically, you're looking at the idea of, attracting ninth graders with the theme about bullying, building it around the four-way test. And the contest at the local level would be I assume, X minute period of time to present their topic to the judges. I don't know if, I suppose certainly in person or virtually are the two options. Then if take it a little farther, you talk about the district competition or contest in April. So that might be the different clubs or groups that got involved would have a winner or a couple of winners or something from their local area that would present. Again, I'm thinking in terms of they have X amount of minutes. You didn't talk much about that format. So am I along the logic you're looking at?
Keith, it is a 5-minute contest.
Okay.
It can be done live or local on the club level. The district level will be done by video online because of the travel that would be involved. You're right on everything. I just like to mention that I'll write a sample press release and send it to any club that is interested in participating. And we've already committed the Wausau Noon Club and the Wausau After Hours Club to sponsor the Wausau area local contest. I also have a public service announcement recorded with the help of Brian Mazer in Sturgeon Bay that I'll distribute starting tomorrow after tonight's meeting, in which we steer people to the district website. This would be for people to go to the website and see the pamphlet that Bob put together, and we'll have a list of local clubs that are participating with a link to whatever application there would be for the local competition with details about the local club experience. I want to mention that part of my interest in doing this is I asked an Oneida elder, Norb Hill, what Rotary might be able to do to provide a service to our Indigenous Native neighbors. And he said that American Indian young people need to develop public speaking skills, that if they're going to emerge into tribal and community leadership, they need to be confident speakers. So that's another reason why, in addition to advocating for civility and ethics, that I believe this will be another gesture of goodwill and show that we're collaborating with our Indigenous neighbors. We also have a partnership in Rotary International with Toastmasters. And the Wausau Toastmasters Club was just formed recently, and the president of the Wausau Toastmasters happens to be a Rotarian. So the collaboration that Bob suggests between Toastmasters and Rotary is a long-standing relationship dating back many years and is now being practiced with our Wausau clubs. And that's about it. But I think that one of the concerns I've had expressed by people is that this is late in the year. We set April for the contest deadline because we do not want to compete with the barrage of end of academic year activities. And my wife, who was a high school principal, assured me that if we were to approach a principal and ask for access to a forensics coach and an English teacher, that there's plenty of time to do this in February for March local competition, and then a final winners from the local contest entering into the district competition on April 12th. Does that answer all?
Roger, that was my reaction to the April window, and I perfectly understand, you know, avoiding moving into May when kids are getting graduated and so, well, the ninth graders maybe not, but it's a pretty tight window. I'm just thinking, you know, we meet as a board once a month. We just met last week, so, you know, there's some logistics of getting organized, but certainly one of our club members is, you know, superintendent of schools in Sturgeon Bay, and well, you're familiar with a lot of our people. I think the access point is good. It's, I think just getting mobilized and moving.
I'll even put together an email to ask for the appointment with the administrator, just so people are really comfortable just replicating what I know from working with a high school student journalism program, how important the access is to the administrator first, and then the principal, and then the right teacher and advisor.
Roger, I can send you one of those.
Oh, okay. All right.
One of the things too, Bob referenced that the Sebastopol has high school now has an Interact program in conjunction with the morning club in Sturgeon Bay. I actually live in Sebastopol, and likewise we have a long-term Interact club, and that would seem to be a key starting point. Is the reaction and joint sponsoring from the Interact kids is just a neat way for them to you know, take on a little higher profile level.
Right. Well, and if we don't have every club participate, I certainly understand that, but I think that I'm looking at 2025 as a pilot experience, and it's one during which we can fine tune, perfect our process, and make this something that will grow with time.
And kind of echo Roger's point, you know, I think, you know, really all we can ask for this year is for everybody to give it their best shot. And I really feel pretty strongly that we also want to process our experience this year, so that can help inform our planning for next year.
Now, Bob, I think I saw when we started, and usually the Zooms, this is being recorded. So this is something that can be sent back to, you know, clubs that have a little more penetration into people's understanding.
Yeah.
That'd be important.
And my cell phone and email address are on the flyers, so I'm happy to field questions and talk with folks about it as much as I can.
Any other questions?
Do you have any amount of clubs that have, you know, there's 6 of us here tonight, 2 of us from Sturgeon Bay area. Do you have clubs that have signed up already to give you an idea of?
The boards of directors of Wausau Noon and Wausau After Hours have committed, and the Green Bay West Club had already started their own. And I've talked with the club president about simply allowing the winner of their local club contest that's in process be entered into our district competition in April. So it appears that we've got 3 clubs that will be certain to participate in year 1.
Quick question, Roger. So you said Green Bay West. Is that Di or is she DePere?
No,
Be
it's
pure.
actually me. It's Tina. I'm here, but I'm on a new computer that the video is not working. I apologize.
No worries.
And
There's probably a tiny switch on the side.
on the side, well, I'm sure I could spend out
I
finding a
know
switch.
it's no fun.
I spent all morning this trying it, so I ended up in my phone. But you're right. I was inspired by Roger at Pets last year already with the peace talks that he had, with both the Oneida Nation at Tricon, as well as that was Artley, right? Artie Skinador, the principal at the United Nations. So my question actually, Roger, is, I was spearheading something specifically with the United Nation, and they're trying to develop their forensics program. So you're right, this is a perfect fit. I love that ninth graders are the demographic because seniors already have a lot going on. At the same time, this kind of cash prize in that specific arena, which is where I was headed, is a lot of money for them. In other areas of like the other school districts, maybe not so much. So you're right, having a club prize as well as a larger prize in April would benefit, I think the incentive, right? So I don't want to overstep anything in what, I had already worked with Art. So, you and I can talk next Tuesday when you're at our meeting and maybe put some legs to that. Maybe even have a meeting with him and seeing as how you know him.
Sure. Yeah. And I respect what you're doing, Tina, and don't want to interfere in any way, but I do believe that it can merge into our district-wide competition with the winner from your contest.
Love that. I love that. So Larry, I think, was thinking to talk with us, and I know we've collaborated with DePere and the Packerland Sunrise as well. So we've got 4 clubs in the Green Bay area that are collaborating already.
Yep.
That's awesome.
You know,
Did I hear Chuck? Oh,
Please send out all the resources you have for communicating with the schools. I don't think there are any relationships in either of the Appleton clubs with school administration or districts. So anything
Ralph,
you
I
can get
guarantee
us.
I'll have that to you within 48 hours.
Awesome.
I'm up in
Thank you.
Marquette and I've got a busy day tomorrow, but I hope to be home by dinner or so on Thursday and I can bang it out.
Ralph,
Appreciate
I think the Breakfast Club has a pretty good relationship with Kaukauna, or maybe Kimberly High School. So you may want to check with them. They had the 4 or 5 RILA students this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but if we can get a Green Bay and an Appleton area and something up in Houghton, Hancock, and Marquette, we'll have enough of a footprint to have a very successful pilot initial year, I'm sure. And it sounds like there's also interest in Door County and other places. Our largest club, Wapaka, has excellent leadership, and I'm optimistic they'll be able to participate as well.
I think I really like the suggestion about kind of engaging Interact and Rilo to support. And I think that could be a kind of an interesting on the ground strategy. So I'll keep thinking on that. But I think that's a really cool idea.
one of the comments that Roger, you had early on, I think you referred to dealing with the Oneida Nation, and they were looking for opportunities to get their youth involved with more public speaking. And one of the thoughts that I had is programs like this, I think, will attract ninth graders that are fairly comfortable with being in front of a crowd, and, speaking and so forth. And we have a pretty aggressive scholarship program for college, and of course that's always loaded up with the strong kids. One of the thoughts, and maybe in a pilot year that you don't get too far afield, but how do you try to attract maybe those young people that are, would be a real significant step for them to take 5 minutes and talk. And again, when you're looking for a pilot program, I would say focus, but that was one of the thoughts that I had is.
Can I jump in? It sure feels to me like, we're going to have the experience that we have this year. And then following the district contest, I really hope that we can put out an opportunity for lots of folks to provide their feedback to the experience, and then also add their thoughts and ideas, and we really can figure out how this can be a better fit in the district. I know in Southern Arizona we did, obviously, post COVID we did everything via Zoom, but before that, the district contest was part of the district conference. So the parents would bring their kids, and I mean, God, we would make such a big deal about all of the kids that would show up and represent all of their clubs, and all of those extra guests at the conference. And it was just a really, just a heartfelt PR move, and everybody really appreciated it. And to me, I think that thing was worth all of the effort.
Bob, I hate to be negative, but I think that District 6220 is larger than half of the congressional districts in the United States. And travel for student participation will be far too expensive and time consuming. If you're trying to get a ninth grader from Houghton Hancock to drive to Brookfield, Wisconsin, it includes overnight stays and massive expense that would diminish participation.
Yeah.
So we can move into the 21st century and do it by Zoom.
Well, and I there's ways to innovate for sure. And it looks like James has a hand up.
Yeah. So what I was going to get at is actually in response to the question that was posed just a few moments ago, relating to getting those disenfranchised and possibly disempowered youth in the door. I have a little bit of experience with that. I'm, obviously not as marginalized as some folks are, what with being white and male. But the big thing that got me engaged with Rotary and Rotary events was the fact that someone I knew asked. So what I'm thinking is, if we're looking to gather, if we're looking to gather folks who maybe need to build those skills and this would make an opportunity for them, we could also ask teachers to make referrals. Or we could ask, tribal leaders, see if they have somebody that they think's got the potential but just isn't quite ready yet. We might not know these kids as well as the other folks in the community.
James, that's an excellent suggestion. And if you look at the second part of the question that the students will be asked to address, it does exactly what you're suggesting. It talks about the experience of being a minority or marginalized or underrepresented. And that's specifically drafted in such a way to make participation significantly salient for Native Americans and other underrepresented minorities in our culture and society today. But this is a way of practicing being nice without identifying it as a DEI project and the associated baggage that comes with that. This is a very gentle way of doing good without the political connotation.
So inspiring. Really, really excited about this. Can we take submissions, meaning, as much as this will be an online event and potentially a Zoom, that means that it's actually still live to some degree. But I think we should offer an opportunity to submit a video that's pre-recorded and potentially use that. And I don't know if that's maybe even not a great format, submit your videos and then having, that be the show so that there's some preemptive time to really choose your winners and but then allow everyone to see the submissions and then agree because I don't know how long it will take to actually work out the judging process if it's
And then
which,
Tina, I think that we could invite the winner from each club to present live to the club because that significant travel and expense would not be involved at all with a local
right.
club winner being invited to a Rotary Club meeting and
Yeah, that would be cool.
what Bob suggested happened in Arizona.
Yeah,
You could have the teacher come with the student along with their parents to the club meeting for the presentation.
Right.
Well, you could
And
even you could make it a regular weekly program and have first, second, and third place finishers present at the club and then get their money there. It's a good way to get them to come.
yeah. And Tina, I like your idea about video, and I think maybe let's stick that into the after contest processing and see where it goes. But I think that's a wonderful suggestion, and I think doing something like that uh, uh, is even more accessible than doing it
Not only
via
that,
Zoom.
but what you can do is develop a YouTube channel. And I've got one for our club, so I upload a lot of videos. And if it's public, then people can actually go in and, we're going to
Yeah,
want to do that anyway because these go national, these go global. I mean, that's where we
yeah,
got, Bob. I'm sure that's where you got your idea. I've seen some old four-way test speech contests that are pretty, remedial. So, with YouTube the way it is now, we could really broaden the reach.
for sure. And we can record the speeches via Zoom. So
Exactly.
What I really like, Tina, what I really liked about your idea is, at first I thought, well, if you allow them to make a video, they could go back, take a number of cuts at it. And I thought, well, what's wrong with that? Especially
Exactly.
if it reduces some of the edginess about, presenting it up front. And as I look at the contest topic, we're really looking for their thought process. My thoughts are rather than their presentation skills. And if they were really uncomfortable with doing a live video or in person, that would give them the opportunity to watch themselves, watch what they're doing, and decide, okay, let me try it one more time. And I think that's a great idea.
Cool.
yeah, I do too. Anything else, folks?
Well, what we'll
One-
have to wait for is clubs to commit. That's the next most important step, is to get
Right.
individual club approval so we move forward.
So what do you think the obstacle will be in that?
Probably the first objection will be timing, but I think those apprehensions can be allayed by the simplicity of the process. All it is contacting a school administrator, probably a conversation with the principal, then a teacher, perhaps a forensics advisor, and under ideal circumstances, it would include visiting a class, making a short presentation, but I have had my wife, a principal, and a couple teachers say getting into a class is now more cumbersome and difficult, so you probably are not going to be able to talk to many students directly. You'd need clearance and a background check and a number of things to get into some schools today.
Which is why I have a flyer developed for what I was already pursuing that covers it all. So that kind of thing can go digital also, and even on the school's social media pages.
Yep. Would you share that with us, Tina?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And would you agree to serve as a member of our planning committee?
Well, you know what? I've already got legs in the game, so absolutely.
Good.
You just don't know what I look like.
I do. And we miss video because it would grace our gathering.
Well, maybe I'll pull it up on my phone and see if I can't just say hi.
Anybody, any final thoughts? What do you think? Are we
Question,
heading in a good direction?
the video from this, Lisa, when is it gonna, will you be sending a link out somehow? Because I wanna, there's a gentleman in our club that I wanted to see this, and I wanna make sure
Yep,
they,
so it'll download tonight, and I'll get it in the morning, and I can forward it to whoever. I probably
Okay.
should get it maybe out on the YouTube website or YouTube.
okay,
Perfect. When you have that done, let me know because I'll mention it in a Rotary Minute as soon as it's available too.
It'll be available tonight, but I won't be up
Okay.
to get it out. So I'll do
Anything
it
else?
first thing in the morning.
Well,
Roger,
Bert.
any final thoughts?
I just want to thank you, Bob, for putting everything together. And I know that we're all busy people and we have a lot of competition for our time. So I thank everyone that joined us tonight and look forward to making this something that we can all be proud of looking back on and applauding the success of Bob and those that will put this together.
thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.